Hey everybody, Cam here and welcome back to Reality Check. Now, are you excited about the future of virtual reality in gaming? I know I genuinely am, but I also know we spend a lot of time talking exclusively about Oculus Rift. But you know what? There are others out there vying for a piece of this new virtual reality pie. So this week I scoured the internet to bring you 6 of the best alternatives to Oculus Rift. Sony. Ever heard of them? Nah, me neither. Apparently they make video game consoles or some rubbish. But let's not hold that against them, as they are also no stranger to the virtual reality space, producing a piece of kit called the Sony HMZ-T3, a VR unit marketed as a theater virtualization headset. Costing just a whisker below $1,000, it simulates watching a screen 700 to 750 inches in size from 65 feet away. The headset, now in its 3rd iteration, has a display consisting of dual OLED screens, delivering a cool 720p resolution per eye. It's worth noting that this is actually inferior to the latest Oculus Rift model, Crystal Cove, which delivers a full 1080p per eye. Now, while this unit can be used for gaming in some circumstances, the primary use for the HMZ-T3, like its predecessors, is media viewing. Watching movies on planes, for example, or in tiny New York apartments. However, fret not, PlayStation fans, as Sony have also recently teased the existence of a dedicated PS4 VR headset, set for a grand unveiling at GDC later this month. Keep your eyes on GameSpot for all the news on this one as it comes. Okay, I think this next one is perhaps my favourite of all the devices on this list. Say hello to the Glyph from Avegant. So, what makes it so special? Well, unlike all other competitors on the market, it doesn't use an LCD or OLED screen to produce the image. In fact, there is no screen at all. No, this one projects 2 discrete images directly into the eyes of the wearer, mimicking the way we see objects in real life. Texas Instruments DLP technology is used to project a 1280 by 800 display right onto your retinas. Currently, it's in an alpha prototype phase and kind of looks like a really giant pair of headphones. To enable the viewer, simply fold the visor down and you're good to go. The image produced is relative to an 80-inch television screen 8 feet in front of you, and as such doesn't quite fill your entire field of view in the same way as, say, the Oculus. According to GameSpot's sister site CNET.com, the image clarity, however, is pretty much unparalleled due to this projection technology. Senior editor Scott Stein commented that the projected image was exceedingly bright and vivid, lacking any sense of pixelation. A deep-sea 3D movie looked like it was projected in a tiny little movie theater in front of my eyes, he said. The Glyph has an all-encompassing HDMI input to boot, allowing it to connect happily to a wide variety of input sources, including phones, Blu-ray players, and the like. Although designed primarily with movie viewing in mind, it's not difficult to see its potential for gaming. The Glyph massively exceeded its Kickstarter goal as well, so fingers crossed we'll get to see a beta prototype of this soon. If nothing quite gets you going like a crazy wide field of view, then take note of the Infiniti. Now, the Oculus Rift sets the standard at around 90 degrees horizontally, with others falling within 10 or so degrees of that mark. However, this aesthetic monstrosity has a staggering horizontal field of 210 degrees. That's a view that'll have your eyes rolling around almost as much as your goofy head. Designed by a trio of Frenchmen in Toulouse, the unit comprises of 4 render screens as opposed to the typical 2. Now you have 2 renders directly in front of your eyes, with the addition of outward, sideways-facing render screens for your peripheral vision. When you think of accomplishing the next step in creating a believable and immersive environment, it almost seems obvious, but it does come at a price, not only literal, but also in its dimensions. In a reasonably successful bid to solve the problem, the team has opted for Fresnel lenses rather than heavier glass ones. But alas, at its current state of production, this is a cumbersome piece of kit, and we can only wait to see what they can do to make this a more comfortable accessory. My word. It's like I'm really here. Up next, we have the Game Face Mark IV. At first glance, you could be forgiven for thinking that it's just the Oculus Rift, but in white. Well, keep looking and you should notice that there aren't any wires. It's all self-contained. While the Oculus Rift needs an input device to run, a PC say, everything you need to get gaming with the game face is right there, on your face. The processing power comes from an Android OS, so obviously when compared with a PC-connected Rift, it's gonna come in second place in the graphics race. However, to really get the most from a self-contained setup, the company is in talks with Nvidia to potentially incorporate its new K1 chip, which would give it that extra boost in processing power as well as support for the Unreal Engine 4. Plus, they're also planning on building out a dedicated Android VR store to further support the headset, which is pretty exciting. Finally, what if I told you that the majority of the hardware that you need to experience a virtual reality environment is already in your pocket? Nope, it's not that piece of lint and a stick of gum, it's your phone. And it's the key to the Dive VR headset from the folks at Darovis. Simple in its design, this mask holds your iOS or Android phone inches from your eyes, and with the use of lenses, magnifies your field of view. It's kind of like the Oculus Rift, to be honest, but instead of having a screen and a computer to power the software, both these jobs are done by your phone. Also, by taking full advantage of the gyroscope and accelerometers of your device, Darovis acknowledged that you already own the bulk of the expense and technology necessary, hence its sub-$100 retail price. However, because it is taking advantage of your phone and its processing power, this also becomes a limiting factor. At the best of times, smartphones have undependable battery life, and while processors are getting increasingly powerful, you will still be a long ways off Oculus and PC capabilities. Plus, you won't want to get a business call whilst hitting Mach 3 on a virtual roller coaster. So, what do you make of these alternatives to Oculus Rift? Let me know in the comments down below, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at CamFrazRob, or just use the hashtag GSReality. Last week on Reality Check, I tackled the science of knocking people out for hours. Towards the end of the episode, I discussed potential alternatives to boshing people on the head as a way of non-lethally taking them down for a long period of time. And loads of you asked a really great question about the possibility of using a choke or sleeper hold. So, would this work? Well, what a choke or sleeper hold actually does is stop the blood flow and thus the oxygen supply to the brain by compressing the arteries. This results in a loss of consciousness. However, as soon as the hold is released, blood flow resumes and the person should rapidly regain consciousness. Overall, you're probably talking a lapse of 15 seconds or so. Any longer than that, and once again, you're probably doing some nasty, irreversible brain damage. So yeah, not a really viable alternative for safely KOing guards for a long period of time. Okay, thanks for watching everybody, and make sure you come back next week for more Reality Check.